Welcome, guys. This channel is not just a rah-rah coaching channel that talks about success strategies and agent productivity exclusively. I want to be here to support you on your everyday real estate activities. I want this to be a forum for agents to learn from my experiences, both real world and behind the scenes, that have helped me and supported me while I was a top performing agent. So anything from clients to growing your business, to mental and physical health, marketing, advertising, lead gen, even family time. I just want to be able to cover everything here. Let's talk appraisals. I heard some chatter about this on our campus and I wanted to run through the process. It's mundane, but it's incredibly important. So listen up. If you have a listing that is under contract, you should be prepared to host an appraisal. What are they for? Well, the banks want to confirm the value. They're doing an internal audit. They're lending your buyer or the buyer a bunch of money. And while the listing and photos are online, they want feet on the street data to support and verify their loan value. So typically what will happen is the appraiser will contact you, the listing agent, and request a time. You should accommodate that time. Don't ask to change the day or time so it's convenient for you. That's annoying for the appraiser. And honestly, you really need to be best friends with this person, and it starts by accommodating their schedule. So yeah, there are a few banks that will waive appraisals and basically use the online data and research and photos to support the value. We've mostly seen this happen in mid and high-rise buildings that have similar tiers and recent sales that can support pricing. So it's easier for them to use that online data to verify the property's value. So anyway, as the listing agent, it is your job to get this property to appraise out. And to do that, you have to help the process. Don't just show up and open the door and be like, okay, appraiser, have fun. Like you should really be ready. Email and come to the appraisal with the fully executed contract. Yeah, they probably have it, but bring it anyway. 3 to 4 property comps, the floor plan and the survey, if it's a single family home, if possible. I'd also like to have the HOA data accurate on the contract. If it's not, make sure you're bringing that because the appraisal will need to verify some information with one of the HOA contacts. These documents help the appraiser both on site and when they go back to their office, finalizing that report. Again, we need to get to value. It helps speed things up for you while you're on site. Also, they don't have to go run around, measure everything, which is really nice, but honestly, a huge value add for the process. Puts you in their good graces. Basically, we want to make the job easier for them so that 1, we don't have any issues with value, and 2, makes their job easier, which makes them like us. So that's the goal. Now, I have asked a few appraisers back in the day if they wanted coffee, AKA a bribe, and they've always rejected that. Finally, when I got to know one of them, I asked if they wanted a coffee or why they could never accept it. And they said, yeah, if you accept anything from a seller or an agent, it would be considered a bribe. So they can't accept. And no, you can't bribe them. So with our process, we have seen appraised value come in at contract price. I would say at least 99% of the time, which is exactly what we want. The other 1%, we see a value slightly over the contract price, which is great. Other times it's slightly under. If it is under, we have a problem and we need to address that. What we do. If the property price is under the value, you will need to work with the buyer's agent to solve this problem. A solution I like is for the buyers to change lenders and start over. Not ideal, takes a little bit of massaging, but honestly, it's the most fair solution. Buyers don't love this, but really it gets people going in the right direction. So hopefully the new appraiser comes in, verifies value, and the deal proceeds at contract price. And using a sample size of 1 appraiser really isn't fair to the buyer or seller because there is some ambiguity while the appraiser is doing their research and putting a report together. So when you get a second appraiser back in there and a second set of eyes, great. Let's see if it appraises lower and or at contract price. If it comes back below contract price on the second appraisal, you will need to work towards resolution. And there are a couple of ways to do this. One way is to try and resolve the discrepancy with an appeal, basically asking the appraiser to change the value. That is definitely probably not going to happen. You're asking the appraiser, or actually you're telling the appraiser that he's wrong and that he should do something to fix his work. And obviously no one likes that. So I don't think I've ever seen an appeal work. Option 2 is the most common. If the seller is willing to negotiate on price a little bit and the buyer has the funds to cover the underappraised value, you can work with the buyer and seller in this regard. For example, if the property sold at $400,000 and the appraisal came in at $390,000, 10 grand discrepancy, which is absurd, by the way. I hate when an appraiser does that, but you have this $10,000 discrepancy. If the seller and buyer agree on a new price, let's call it $395,000. So the seller came down 5, buyer came up 5. The attorneys can draft an addendum and the problem is solved. Win for the buyer, a little bit of a loss for the seller, but the deal closes. It's annoying. It happens. It's infrequent, but that's a great solution. I have also seen the seller hold firm on their sale price, basically bluffing and forcing the buyer to either terminate or move forward with the appraised value and cover the delta. Then, like I said, they basically need to come up with whatever that delta price is, the 10 grand extra, like the appraised value versus the contract price. If the buyer terminates, then we go back on the market. Not fun, but it's a bluff, and I've seen sellers use them. Some win, some lose. I strongly suggest you prepare your sellers for every scenario, especially if you are setting new sales highs in your building or the complex or the general area. And in a fast-moving market like we're in today, you're going to be seeing new highs. You don't want to blindside your client post-appraisal and be like, hey, sorry, your property didn't appraise. Here's what we need to do. It's really good to get ahead of these. So information and communication is everything in this customer service world. Make sure you're letting your clients know what this appraisal is about, why it's happening, and what the options and what the solutions might be. Don't get too deep, but it's nice to cover them high level. Thank you for joining. Happy to answer any real estate questions on this topic or any other real estate related topic. And then also moving forward, if you have something you want me to talk about, fire away. I'm happy to cover those.
I have a question that when you are representing the seller and the appraisal comes in low, what would be your advice for relisting? Do you go off the appraised amount, or do you stay firm with what you perceive the value to be and hope another appraiser agrees with you?
If it was one appraiser that came in below contract price, that guy cannot set the market. Buyers and sellers truly set market price. We know that. This is an open marketplace. So I would go back at the same contract price that you either were under contract at or your previous list price, go in with confidence, and that's it. You have to trust your pricing and the system. This was one appraiser that, for lack of a better term, screwed you, and you just have to go back at the right price. Cool. Thanks for joining. Hit me up with any topics you guys want to hear about. Have a great day.